and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is me, Dukect, here live once again here on TalkShoe.com. Thank you so much for joining me here on TalkShoe.com and and all these other things here. Well, make sure that you guys, the people, hear this show and love this show because, hey, you guys seem to like this little podcast I do. Anyway, there's some interesting things to talk about here, and quite honestly, it's something that, quite honestly, one of the things I really am, one of the things that really is, hits me in the head these past couple of days and weeks and such is NXT. Now, I haven't really watched NXT and quite a lot of the shows and everything else because, quite honestly, I don't think it just feels like the show just feels like a waste of time. The only thing I watch usually is like the little stuff WWE tweets out. That was the only time I ever talked about like the sport players I don't know, the new tag team or something like that, but that was it. Nothing interesting in NXT. And I'm quite bored with that. Bored with NXT. And it seems to me that boredom translates to the main roster because, because when you have some of these people go to the main roster, like, for example, Bayley, Revival, or Raw Villains, or anything else, they don't seem to connect with the crowd as much as they did what they did for NXT and everything else. When the NXT, even when it was on fire or not, they just did not seem to connect. Why is that? Why do you think? I think you think anything else? These wrestlers, these superstars, don't seem to connect on the main roster. In fact, the only couple people who I've seen have somewhat of connection in NXT, very few NXT people. Rookies. I'm not talking about guys like Samoa Joe and all those people who are veterans and such. I'm talking about people like, say, Bayley, Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass, Rusev, and all those other people. The Raw Villains when they came up. It seems, there was a lot of people who just seems to, they have not gotten that type of connection with the WWE Universe. And especially with these newer type of wrestlers that you are getting up now. The Revival, some would say, well, injury bug is kind of. Well, that's true, but when they weren't injured, they barely got any response from the crowd. Only when they had that smart crowd at WrestleMania, that was pretty much it. Everything else, there was just, the top guys did nothing. It was just, they just got no reaction to the crowd. No one gave reason to care. And honestly, that was my biggest fear with someone like the Revival. The Revival, and heck, they like no fists, no flips, just fist. Yeah, I like that, but what's their other main character joint? There's no real thing to hook them in. It's such like, if you like the '80s teams. You like this, and I'm like, okay, fine, but what are people who don't like the '80s strut? The younger and the younger folk who may or may not have the WWE Network who won't go back that far. What about the people who just come in and just say, hey, why should I care about these two guys who just go and hug one another and just do regular tag teams? Nothing really identical to them. It just seems like they're not really connected to the crowds. They just pretty much they look at these guys like these are like enhancement talent. They look at them as enhancement talent. The Revival. They don't see anything interesting to them. They don't see anything that will hook them in. Even with the supposed characters they have, they're not really at life. They don't have that type of connection on the microphone. And even if they do get, even if they weren't hit by the injury bug, I fear that would be just their, the only people who will get a Revival any reaction would be the NXT/Smart community crowd. But everywhere else, it is dead silence. It is bad, if not worse than, the people on 205 Live. Heck, even the 205 Live wrestlers don't get that much of a pop in such. You know? They don't get much of a response or anything. That's really is sad. They don't get any responses. And when you look at, say, in other characters, Bayley was getting mid-term responses, but she was I'm like, okay, she's going to get react if they know. And then, you know, another reason NXT wrestlers and superstars don't get over or get popular is because of the WWE main roster's handling of them. I mean, take a look at what happened to Bayley for the past several months since she was on the Raw roster. She was portrayed as an underdog, but beat Charlotte at every turn, and won the championship at a random Monday Night Raw instead of the long, slow burn, which should have been at WrestleMania. But instead, she won it at a Raw before Fastlane, and that was after she gets completely outclassed by Charlotte at the Royal Rumble. Then, after that, you have Stephanie McMahon basically just completely tears it down, and then agreeing that, yeah, you know what, I won because of unfair play, but I'm keeping the belt. I'm like, what? No, that's just wrong right there. And then you have Fastlane, which, my goodness, that was a complete. If their plan was a double turn with Sasha and Bayley turning heel, then that would have made sense. But it didn't. There was no sense for that type of action for Charlotte to come in, take a shot at Charlotte, and have Bayley help retain the championship. As you know, you have on Raw Talk, both of them posing, they were having a good old time. They were having a grand old time, and I'm like, this has to be a double turn. Nope, it's not a double turn. She's still the happy-go-lucky babyface, and then, oh, by the way, she loses most of her matches and such. Kind of like it's losing matches, and via Rey Mysterio and everything else. Then she went to WrestleMania and had a really mediocre, forgettable 4-way match at WrestleMania. And then she faced Alexa Bliss. It was a Payback, I think, and that was a decent match. She won, and then the complete destruction of Bayley was Extreme Rules, and, well, the build-up of that really happened. Do I need to go through another play-by-play by that? Because the way they built her up, she says she wants she gets beat up by a kendo stick by Alexa Bliss. She gets beat up with a kendo stick by Alexa Bliss. She goes to Kurt Angle and says, enough. I want a kendo stick match, a kendo stick on the pole match at Extreme Rules. And then she goes in, she keeps trying to, and then you have it. This was her life segment, which was terrible. And, and I don't blame Alexa, and I don't blame anyone else here. I blame the crappy writers. Alexa is trying to do everything to save that segment, but honestly, it is the writers who are terrible about this. And then they're going to push this angle of making her, Bayley, seem much of a loser. That, she's, instead of going out with a mall with her friends and being like a sociable person, she stayed in and watched WWE Raw and SmackDown. What a loser, right, guys? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then, after all that, the WWE had the absolute gall, to basically start promoting their network. I never see a promotion that JC simultaneously hates not only its fans, but also itself, but yet tries to promote itself. It just doesn't make any sense. Could you actually see, like, other corporations, like, say, Disney, Warner Brothers, the NFL, all these other big entertainment venues or whatever, sports as it were. Have you ever seen a corporation or something like that, entertainment medium or anything like that, basically wanting to just to basically belittle people who people for watching its product, and then at the same time say they should order more of it? And the WWE wonders why they are not making much profit as it once were. Seriously. Yeah, they're not making as much profit as some people are saying, and such. But, yeah, this is what these issues are, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen here, and I ask of you. I ask you. Why? They wonder why that their talent is not completely over. And it gets better, ladies and gentlemen, as Bayley was completely embarrassed and destroyed at Extreme Rules, who had the crowd booing her, by the way. The crowd was so... Yeah, they booed her when she was... they booed Bayley. When she was in LA, they booed her. And they said, and then, then she lost. And then, the interview afterwards saying, I'm not here to hurt, I've never been in a violent situation, but yet why did you request a match? Again, this terrible type of booking, kneecapping themselves, which is supposed to be an easy layup, but somehow the WWE just continues to miss. And then have this hug with Corey Graves, which supposedly is going to have a relationship, even though WWE already showed Bayley actually having a fiance. But hey, whatever, it's stupid. Then after a couple weeks later, Bayley comes out and starts beating up people, completely contradicting her. I'm not here to hurt people. I'm a wrestler and everything, which is just so stupid. And then she wins a couple matches, and then she becomes the number one contender of the women's championship to face Alexa again. And I'm sitting here like maybe they'll finally turn that heel. I'm like, at that point, no. Bayley did not need to have another fight with Alexa. I thought she just needed to go away for a while. Go away for a while and just leave the women's division at this point. She needs to be rehabbed immensely. And then, unfortunately for Bayley, in some cases, some would say fortunately, and such, her arm got injured. And now, some people would say fortunately. Some people, not me or anyone else, think this is a good thing. This might be a good thing for Bayley because it would be time to heal up, to refresh the character, to just say, okay, we need to go back to basics with Bayley. Make sure, make her. Yes, she's child. Yes, I am childlike, but when the bell rings, I am the best wrestler. I believe in myself. I'm the best wrestler and such. I need to get back to that. Have her train. Have her be this type of fierce competitor. Instead, just this childlike goober, which is what she is in the WWE main roster. And I sit here and I wonder, what happened? How did this from NXT? How did NXT Bayley, when Bayley and NXT got to what a lot of people loved from her, to on the main roster, they just completely just annihilated her character. It seems that there was so much of a mean spiritedness to it. And count all the facts that, I don't want to get into the whole Enzo and Cass craziness. I mean, I look at what Cass I look at Cass and I'm like, man, this dude is just, he's nice, he's big, and everything else. And I sit here and I'm like, man, he's being just handcuffed by this whole Enzo thing. It screams like the breakup of Crime Time, but the person with the bigger ego seems to be Enzo. All these dirt sheet reports and all this crazy stuff that come out, including that supposed stripper story too. I mean, at this point, I honestly think the best thing for Cass to do right now, after SummerSlam, get him traded to SmackDown and over time make him a face. I think at the end of the day, he needs to be separate from Enzo, have him work as a face. Don't turn a face overnight. Have him have a really good character or something like that. Have him, have a better theme, by the way, because Cass' theme is still terrible. Thank you, CFOs. I don't know. CFO can make a good song. In fact, I'm using one of their themes songs as my intro for Last Week We Were Standing. They can make good stuff, but man, when they miss, they miss. It's just when they hit, but when they miss, they miss. I mean, whoa, woo, They miss. They miss and miss hard. Ugh. But yeah. But I want to get back to the question is the NXT. And right now and in other places, it seems like not just badly booked by WWE, but also it seems right now NXT is more catered to, and I talked this on Twitter about, I think this man from many people who said that, oh, that was, talking about NXT as an indie, and that they disagreed. I don't see the reason why they disagree. NXT is basically a super indie. They're hiring all this indie talent and not developing. Who are their main stars of their development at this point? I mean, the main people they're developing right now, the people who are in the championship picture right now, are indie people from TNA and indie stuff. I mean, it's just, and people want to boo. Meanwhile, Ember Moon, who will probably dethrone Asuka, they're gonna hate that. They're like, Asuka is so beyond the developmental right now. I'm surprised she hasn't lost the belt already and gone to the main roster. Honestly, put her on SmackDown, who I think would have been more interesting to put there, because her and Charlotte would probably have really interesting matches. But yeah, I think something like, Asuka is, they're wasting her time being on on the NXT. She doesn't need any development. NXT is for people like, say, Authors of Pain or some of the members of Sanity and such, to really, to hone their craft in a small environment to get the crowds. And, once, I think Brian Zane from Wrestling Regrets said this, is like, I think I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, it just seems that the NXT has become too big for its britches. It's become too indie-rific, and it seems has forgotten its place of being developmental. And now people are saying they should have a developmental before developmental. I'm like, wait, what? It doesn't make any sense. Saying that NXT should be a third brand. I'm like, no, NXT should be the developmental brand. Even that should be the main thing. That is developmental. If NXT continues on this route of not being developmental and just floating on this indie cred stuff, it will burn. People will. It's gonna be right now. To me, it just feels like irrelevant. And honestly, if you don't have the WWE network, I don't care for it. I don't think I could care for it. Anymore. If it just, there needs to be something with these characters and such. There needs to be something, reason, a true reason for these wrestlers do. And honestly, right now, NXT seems more of like a forgotten place, a hindrance or a help. I don't think it's helping right now. It could be if they just shift more to developmental, i.e., get most of these old guys out and start developing. Heck, when's the last time you had someone, who was really a part of developmental, who needed to be developed, when wearing the NXT title? The only thing I remember was pretty much Finn Balor, but no, before Finn Balor, Neville, pretty much, I think it was like that. Heck, before that, Bo Dallas, and he had Seth Rollins holding it. Yes, I know Seth Rollins, Tyler Black, or whatever you want to call it, but he was in WWE developmental and, that sort of thing. It just seems like there was a lot of younger and hungrier talent going after the NXT championship. And now it just seems like a lot of old guys are holding it because they can do the best matches. And by the way, can we stop with the undefeated stuff in NXT, please? It's like everybody in the world is undefeated, and I'm just sick of that. Undefeated. I'm like, no. Undefeated should only have someone who is undefeated. Should be meaningful for people who have like for like one person like this the ultimate badass in their division. Okay, you want Asuka undefeated? That's great, but also you got Authors of Pain who's undefeated. Oh, Bobby Roode is undefeated. I think the last time I checked, is he still undefeated at NXT? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, there's so many people undefeated. You have Drew McIntyre's undefeated. All these people who are undefeated. It's just stop. Stop with the undefeated. You don't need to have an undefeated team or a person to get them popular with the crowd. Wins and losses should happen, and then when they do, they should matter and change characters and such. But that's just my personal opinion. And right now, what I see NXT as a helper or hindrance, right now I see it more as a hindrance for WWE because they one thing, they can't book the people out when they come out in NXT. It takes a long while to find themselves unless you are really good at the mic, like supposedly good on the mic like Enzo. Apollo Crews, it took a long while for him to get anything going. Kalisto, he's regressed completely, has turned to an afterthought. Oh, by the way, him being Braun Strowman in the Duster match, that helped him out very well, didn't it? Really? Yeah, it helped him out so well. But yeah, heck, honestly, when I look at some of these guys, wrestlers when they got out in NXT, even like guys like Finn Balor, who I'm like, he was in NXT for so long, and yet he cannot speak at all. He has no mic. He has little to no mic skills, and I'm like, and this is a dude that WWE is putting a whole lot of money into, whole lot of money and time and energy on, really. And the dude can't even do any promos and such that actually convey his emotions, and everything else. People want to crap on Roman, but Roman has actually gotten a lot better on the mic. And yet Finn Balor, oh sweet mercy, man, he is boring. He is like, he just doesn't know what. It seems like he's lost. He just looks like he's lost when he has the live mic. He looks like he's lost out there. And people like him, so that's going to only carry him so far. Until, when he faces someone other than, say, Bray Wyatt, who just derps all the time. When he faces someone who actually does have good mic skills or something, and when the promo battle will eventually happen, he's going to get completely found out, and it's going to really blow back at him. And that's just going to hurt him. Which another thing with NXT seems to be forgotten like that about where was his character and progression? Why is he so? What's the point of the demon? Just, seriously. Why is Finn Balor's demon so important and so this, that, and the third? What makes him so? What makes him? It just seems like he just kills the cause, same as Ember Moon. Both of those, characters, they need a reason why they are this way. Instead, they just seem to dress up like that just for the sake of it. No depth, no story, or anything. And that, to me, really shows the true flaw of NXT. There is no real, the very rare, other than, say, Rusev, they don't have like the full package of storylines or any type of thing that really connects them. Really type of thing to connect the crowd with. When I listen to Finn Balor, when I look at him, I'm like, why is the demon so important? He didn't show me NXT. I liked it the first time I saw it, but I'm like, where's the story? Why is the demon so there? Why is it so important other than just face paint, war paint? That's all I'm asking. But that's just me. And right now, I look at NXT as real. If they can't tell good enough stories to get me to care about these guys, when here in NXT, in fact, when they, and such, they could be a help. Even NXT can be a help once again if they could just nail down the characters, nail down who these people are, nail that down like they used to do. Then I think things will work out. But right now, they haven't done that in a very long time. And you notice that they stopped doing that once the late great Dusty Rhodes seemed to have passed on. It seems that the NXT has lost not just one of didn't lose just a great person behind the scene, but also I feel like they just lost a great person who knows personalities and character. And that has hurt NXT immensely. But hey, hopefully maybe one day they can find that again. That's my hope. Anyway, we're going to take a small little break here. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about a very interesting article from Medical News Today about action video games and one of the most interesting things they found about them. We'll be right back right after this. We're going to be listening to a little bit of music. Let's see, what music can I listen to? Let's something like this, something that's actually good here. Let's listen to something that's actually really, really actually good here. How about Sunken Secrets Diadocs by Fishy from Super Mario 64 Portrait of Plumber. You can find it on ocremix.com. The entire album, it's great. I listened to it. You should listen to it as well. We'll be right back here live on the Dukect Lounge on TalkShoe.com right after this. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is me, Dukect. Thank you so much for joining me here on TalkShoe.com. And most importantly, thanks so much for following me on other places, including YouTube.com/Dukect. Also, make sure the mic is on the right place so you can hear me. You can also find me on YouTube.com/Dukect. Also, you can also find me at vidme/Dukect. How long that's up until hopefully until eventually my content hits 50 gigabytes, then we all know what is going to happen. But until then, I'm still posting up there, also on iTunes.com. Also, you can hear me on MidExpression.com and on Freaking Awesome Network and on Minds.com as well. I'm going to put more emphasis on Minds.com, and hopefully things will eventually work out because I like doing this type of stuff. I like to spread my ideas around. So until I can't do so anymore. And with that said, let's talk a little about video games. Those video games. A lot of things coming out. I mean, Sonic Mania is coming out next week. That seems to be a fun thing. But you have to hold off on that. Because there has been an interesting study here. According to Dr. Gregory West of the University of Montreal, found this current issue of molecular psychiatry. A new study suggests that playing action games can be detrimental to the brain, reducing the amount of gray matter in the hippocampus. And they say specialists should exert caution in advising video gameplay to improve cognition and such. It says right here, and I quote, this is from the article is written by Maria Cloud, and this is from Medical News Today. The link will be in the description. It says the current study stands for two considerations. First, the researchers noted that action video games. I gotta start right here. Sorry. It says the impact of video games on health and well-being has often been studied and discussed, and is still a very controversial topic. According to the Internet Software Association, at least one person in 63% of households across the United States plays video games for at least 3 hours per week, making gaming one of the most popular leisure activities. And most of my 3 hours comes from live streaming, which you can see by a live stream of my next game. I'm playing Mass Effect will be this Friday night this Friday at 7 p.m. Hope you will be there or be square. Hopefully you'll be there. Anyways, there's a new study led by researchers to the Department of Psychology at the Université de Montréal and from the Dulles Institute in Quebec, both in Canada, of course, has now found that action video games statistically have direct negative impact on the brain. And it says continue yada yada. Excuse me. The current study stems from two considerations. First, the researchers noted that action video games, which are defined as first and third person shooter games, are sometimes recommended by specialists to increase the visual attention of children and adults. Secondly, according to the previous research conducted by Dr. West, action video game players employ a particular kind of navigational strategy called response learning, which is based on forming a navigational habit and relying on it. Response learning is also associated with a decrease in the gray matter of the hippocampus, which is a part of the brain linked to episodic memory and orientation. A low amount of gray matter in this brain area is related to Alzheimer's disease, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. That's no good. And looking at the effects of action video games on the hippocampus, Dr. West and his colleagues also took into account any links with the cerebrum, which is cerebrum. Sorry, I can't pronounce anything. Which is a brain area that receives signals from the hippocampus. The striatum also contains the caudus nucleus, which plays an important role in the formation of habits and procedural memory, the kind of memory we rely on how to know how to walk, swim, or ride a bicycle. According to existing research, Dr. West and his colleagues note that the caudus nucleus shares an inverse relationship with the hippocampus. That means if we rely too much on habit and procedural memory, we end up underutilizing the active learning capabilities promoted by the hippocampus. This may cause the hippocampus to atrophy, leading to an unhealthy brain structure. Quote to Dr. Gregory West, that's why we decided to do a full neural image study. And what we saw was less gray matter in the hippocampus of our habitual players. We then followed it up with two longitudinal studies to establish causality, and we found that it was indeed the gaming that led to changes in the brain. 51 male and 46 female gamers were recruited for the current research and were eventually tasked to playing with action games, which in case were shooter games as called the 3D platform video games from the Super Mario series. Response, let's see, the principles were first. Sorry about that. The participants were tested to see whether there were spatial learners relying on visual clues and landmarks to make their way through a particular environment, or response learners relying on acquired habits to navigate. Spatial learners have more active hippocampus, where response learners tend to underutilize it. For this test, the researchers developed a 4-on-8 virtual maze, which is a task that occurs to players to come up with a navigational strategy that links to either the hippocampus or the caudate nucleus. The virtual reality task consists of an 8-arm radical maze situated in an enriched environment. The environment contains both distal, far from the player's perspective, and proximal, close to the player's perspective. Landmarks, fruit trees, and rocks and mountains, the researchers explained. After establishing which players were response learners and which were spatial learners, the researchers asked them to play the action and 3D platform video games. It was found that the same amount of time, 90 hours dedicated to gaming, had different effects. Deepening on the kind of game that was involved, action games lead to hippocampal apathy, whereas platform games increase the volume of gray matter. So, hey, that means So I must to get better gray matter. That means I had to play more platformers. So I pretty much had to play like more Mario, more Sonic, and more of the other things that are considered platformers than all the other things. This is and all this other stuff. But it's about the thing continues. The researchers believe that responsive learners might be able to increase their gray matter volume by being encouraged to use spatial strategies. Instead, Dr. West and his colleagues also suggest that game developers might even be able to prevent action games from leading to the apathy of hippocampus by changing the game's design. Action games, they say, often include an overlaid heads-up display with displays an in-game GPS, global positioning system, to direct players to the next location or event, discouraging players from actively employing spatial strategies. Without this, the researchers suggest the game's negative effect on the brain might be avoided. Considering these findings, Dr. West and his colleagues advise caution in prescribing action video games to young players, as it might end up doing more harm than good. However, the researchers suggest that game training must be adapted to the necessities of the individuals all. For example, patients with Parkinson's disease, who are present with dementia, and patients with Alzheimer's disease, schizophrenia, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder should not be exposed to action video games as they already have a lower volumes of gray matter. In contrast, patients with Parkinson's disease without dementia do display dysfunction in the basal ganglia and may benefit from action video game training. Well, the more you know. So yeah, this is actually a very interesting article. It shows that maybe we should do more interesting stuff with tell the game designers to do more do interesting game design to help people, to help their brain, to help them not lose that much of gray matter. And this is something hopefully that the game developers will use. Hopefully they will. And if they do, that's actually be a very interesting something a very interesting take on it. I hope that this will be something this is something that could be a very something in the future. I think this could actually be a very, very good thing coming in the future for not just something action games, but also again platform games. That actually helps you with the brain and increases gray matter. So I expect people who are listening to this are going to be playing a lot more platformers. So that's always a good thing. But anyway, more video games are always a good thing. But always remember limits, people. Always remember limits. Anyway, that's it for the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks so much for keeping me here. And, hopefully I haven't bored you too much while listening to me for these past 37 minutes. But you know what? I think this is a good little time to talk here in the lounge. Because that's always a good place to be, in the Dukect Lounge. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, listening, and everything else in between. It's Dukect here. Peace, love. I will see y'all when I see y'all later.